Wafube. This is Misael Bay, aka Warlock Asylum. So today we have a special show settling the dispute between followers of Noble Drew Ali and CM Bay. And why is there no Moorish unity? So first, just want to say what's going on. This is Warlock Asylum. Just having a little bit of coffee here. And I decided to get into this subject because, like everyone else, you see certain things on the YouTube and you wonder what's going on with these guys, the Moors. So I thought I'd get into that today and answer a few questions. But first, I decided let's go straight into this on the topic of Moorish unity. Why isn't there any unity amongst the Moors? Very simple answer, because they're not backed by Allah. I would think that anybody would say it's blasphemous to believe that an outfit that is not united is backed by the supreme sovereign grand architect of the universe. To say that to me would be blasphemous. If things were working out a little bit better, then you could see evidence of that energy active. Here's something to think about. Here it is, people call on this deity, they call on Allah, but that doesn't mean that those energies respond. And how you could tell is just by the fruitage of something, the fruitage of its works. That's how you can tell. You know what I'm saying? These dudes can't get along, don't see eye to eye and legalities, anything like that. It's not backed by anything supreme. Here it is. You could take a man-made structure like a corporation, for example. Let's say J.P. Morgan. People go to work at J.P. Morgan from all different nationalities, not even like the same nationality. And they get along fine. For those who act up, they have a very clever way of disciplining the individual. But people spend 10, 20, even 30 years at these corporations working, and the corporation is able to achieve its aim without a problem. So on the other end, you have a group of people who are part of the same nationality, believe in some of the same principles, and they can't get along. So evidently, if an organization that's made by a man or a group of men could perfect, in its structure, the unity of several different nationalities, and then there's an organization where everyone's part of the same nationality, and nationality is the priority of the day, and they can't get along, then who is it really backed by? And the reason being is because the leadership is corrupt. What the leadership did, that's what happened. The leadership made this thing into a fan club for Noble Drew Ali and CM Bay, and that's not the point. In Sufism, there's a book called Cairo Speaks. His name is spelled Kyroot. It's based on Sufism, called Cairo Speaks. Very famous book. It was real popular in the 1960s. And in the book, it says that you really can't call a dead person, or they say it like this, you really can't call a dead man because he's not there to correct you on what he says. Everyone's going around, the prophet said that. You wasn't there. All you could do is quote the sayings of the prophet. But you can't quote the dude, and that's not even the point. The point is what resonates today to help everyone develop, and that will be the 5 principles. The 5 principles resonates throughout all the time and throughout all of humanity. And that's the situation. But because these dudes made a fan club, like a Tupac fan club, this dude, he died, and, we're going to sell a bunch of his records, this is what goes on. This dude, he didn't say that. That's not how any indigenous group acted in ancient times with their science. There's not even science at that point. You know what I'm saying? You respect the person for what they established and teach the history of the things that he's done in that accord. But what's even greater than any of us is to be able to embody those five principles and set that as the goal. You see what I'm saying? So that's the terrific thing. And that's why there's no unity in the Moorish movement, because it's not backed by the great God Allah. It's just a bunch of people getting together to celebrate this fan club stuff. A lot of these people are sincere. You know, a lot of people trying to do what they need to do in the movement. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the best structures that we have um, in urban communities, in communities where people are impoverished, in communities where so-called Latino and African Americans live. This is the best one, the best programs. But it's not being implemented correctly because the leadership is corrupt. And that's that simple. So, I'm going to be coming aboard with some things pretty soon because I'm not just going to blow the horn on stuff and not, come with, some solutions that will help work things out. Okay, so now this will bring us into another part of our discussion, which I'm pretty excited to get into, and that's going to be settling dispute between the followers of Noble Drew Ali and the followers of C.M.B. Okay, so here's the deal. Um, you have, let me see if I could pull this up a second. Hold on 1 minute. I'm just going to go into my notes a second. You have, so you have a dispute between the followers of Noble Drew Ali and the followers of C.M.B. Okay. Um, the followers of Noble Drew Ali, known as Temple Moors, they say, them dudes following C.M.B., they dirty, man. C.M.B., he done took this thing and turned it into something else. That's what they said. And according to a book written by Sheikh Way Ill entitled Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America, the movement, he gives a little bit of a backstory in it when he says, next up we have Charles Mosley Bey, commonly known as C.M.B. by his followers. It is reported by members of the Moorish Science Temple that C.M.B. was kicked out of the Moorish Science Temple of America by the Prophet himself, while some say that he left on his own accord. It was purported that during a temple meeting, the Prophet was hearing the members within the temple speak on things that was not taught by our or nor accepted by him. The Prophet abruptly stopped the meeting and asked, "Who in here believes what this man is teaching?" referring to C.M.B. It was said that C.M.B. was teaching the Zodiac and Freemasonic rhetoric, among other things, that was not accepted by the Prophet in his temples. Okay, so basically, according to the M.S.T.A., this dude was kicked out the temple, C.M.B. All right. Now, if you talk to people who are part of, um, who follow C.M.B., they'll say that he was given a work, to do. He was commissioned to do a work by the Prophet in secret. Okay. So let's just cut to the chase and get to the root of the matter. What really happened? How can we confirm what really happened? And, really see clear out what it is. Okay. First, I want to, for those who don't know me, you can look online and find, just Google Warlock Asylum and books, and you can see that I've written a lot of texts and stuff like that. So as a writer, there are certain things that I've learned where you can see into a person's character through what they write. And basically how you do that is become the enemy, identify with the enemy of what is ostracized by the writer himself. For example, if a person really wants to know the God of the Bible, the Christian Bible, they can do so by becoming the bad guy. If you become the bad guy, identify with the bad guy, whether it's a director's film, whether it's a sacred book, you can see the issues that the author has because this is what you're looking for. Everybody is looking to identify with the good guy. That's the herd mentality. Because they're just taking the things as they are. They don't question the source of where it comes from. And because of that, because they're seeking uh, and act out on appearances. Hey, I'm the good person without any cultivation, studying conclusions without getting the knowledge from knowledge to born, however people want to say it. Then they usually follow instinctively the good guy. And this is known by powers that control the world. But if you identify with the bad guy in every story, or just try it, you can see the author's issues. And based on that, we can tell what the relationship was between Noble Drew Ali and CM It's very simple. But I'm not going to cut to the chase. Was there instructions given by Noble Drew Ali? No, not at all. Not at all to anyone. Not to Elijah Muhammad, not to M.S.T.A. Some people try to make this thing seem like, it was some kind of secret going on and he gave each person assignment so everyone could fit in the room of what they studied. Yeah, because you have people who study NOI, 5%, M.S.T.A. and CM teachings. And they trying to find something, and really what they're looking for is in themselves. All they have to do is learn virtue and the five principles, and they'll be all right. But however, when you look at like biblical texts and stuff like that, you can see that a lot of stuff was given to people, basically through the idea that knowledge is power, and it is. You see what I'm saying? But what type of power it is that you're seeking to obtain? Are you trying to obtain power to transform yourself? Or are you trying to obtain power to impress on others? You see? And so this is how, in the rhetoric of the Bible, the serpent told the truth to Adam and Eve. You will not die. Your eyes were bound to be open. And that's what happened. They lived for another 900 years. But the thing about it is that in the Bible, the serpent was the first person to tell the truth. You see what I'm saying? Everyone else was living within being. Truth is second nature to living in being. And when you understand that, then it helps you to make certain decisions. So, how could we tell the situation was between CM and Noble Drew Ali? There was a lot of contention. First, if you read the works of CM they are exactly opposite of everything that Noble Drew Ali says. For someone to say that these two dudes was in cahoots, you got to be out of your mind. You got to be out of your mind. There's no, it's just two different type of worlds. And I think CM was coming from the fact. Here's another thing before I get into all of that stuff. I was going to get into some of CM intentions, as you can see in his works. But here's the thing that people have to consider about Noble Drew Ali that made him a special figure, but also made him a hush-hush figure today. Because people hush him up. You know what I'm saying? If these dudes were all in cahoots with Noble Drew Ali, they just wouldn't be saying some things. Like, you just wouldn't be saying, like in the Nation of Islam, their questionnaire says that, Elijah Muhammad was the first person teaching Islam. Prophet M.S.T.A was the first person teaching Islam in America. You know what I'm saying? That's not true. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't be saying stuff like that if you in cahoots with a person. But here's the thing. None of these dudes ever really said anything, directly against Noble Drew Ali. And that's because who Noble Drew Ali was backed by. He was backed by Marcus Garvey. and everyone knew the strength of the UNIA. Everyone knew the strength of Marcus Garvey, so that's why they never really directly criticized him. But what they were trying to do, they were trying to get some of his money or create, a, a venture that could equal to what he was making. And if you have something to say and something to help people, that's fine. If CM wants to give his interpretation of Moorish science based on some of the things that he learned coincidentally, that's fine also. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's here to express themselves. However, the clarity of what this is and what that is sometimes needs to be ironed out so people can know what they get themselves involved in. Drew Ali, I believe at the time, one of his income was estimated at $70,000 a year. Some people not making $70,000 a year today. So you can imagine back at the turn of the century, someone making $70,000 a year, that was huge. So these dudes was like, man, we want to see what this dude is up to because money talks. It's like Noble Drew Ali was greater than that dude who wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? He was that big, right? For those who know what that is. He was much bigger than that. So these people were trying to get around him. A lot of people was like, yeah, nationality, it works because this is what this dude is doing. And a lot of people was like, yo, man, we want to do what he's doing. We want to make what he's making because you got to also consider that the level of education in minority communities, and it was truly a minority community at that time, was not the same as it is today. There was not the same opportunities. So people coming out the backwoods, the country, some of them city slickers and stuff like that or whatever, even like Elijah, Poole Bay was part of the M.S.T.A. and how could he be part of the M.S.T.A? He didn't have a big education like that. So a lot of these people didn't have, certain understanding. Some of them didn't travel as much. Later they did as they set themselves up. But a lot of these people looking at this dude like, man, how can he make $70,000 a year? So with CM Bay, here's another thing that people are not aware of. It's like at that time, a lot of the archaeologists, a lot of the scholars, like I'm a Chaldean shaman, right? I work with Chaldean stuff or whatever. That's Warlock Asylum. People know me for that or whatever. I also work with Shinto, those things. However, my primary thing was Chaldean. So I know all about Babylonia, Mesopotamia, all that sort of stuff. So what I found interesting at that time is that all those dudes that went into Mesopotamia, all of them, who went in there as archaeologists and stuff digging, all of them were PhDs in law. And you said, man, why is all these dudes, who are archaeologists, why are they PhDs in law? You know what I'm saying? And I'll get into that in another video. However, this was the standard. So here this dude, he's part of Noble Drew Ali. He gets knowledge by joining up a circus or something. You know what I mean? And so these dudes is like, man, how this dude was just, join the circus, go across the sea, learn some Islam and come back. And he's making like $70,000 a year. So CM Bay, he's an educated guy. You know what I'm saying? He's coming in like, hey, trying to share some stuff with the prophet or whatever. Like, man, we need to get this and this and this. Leave that religion alone. And the prophet was like, nah, man, we ain't going that way, man. You need to you either get out of here and start your own thing, but don't be trying to contaminate my membership with what you teaching. And that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? And people, they can make up whatever stories they want to say, but you can see it right in the literature. Right in the literature. Give you an example. Everything that Noble Drew Ali represented, CM Bay said opposite. He said opposite. Everything that this dude represented, CM Bay had something else to say that was different. I'll give you an example. There's a couple of things I was looking for in here. Let me see if I can find it. Inside the circle 7. Right? Inside the circle 7. Yeah, I think I had, like, here is under the topic, holding instruction from the prophet, uh, on religion. Okay, it doesn't say on religion, it says religion. Okay, it says there is but one Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, incomprehensible. So he goes into saying the sun is not Allah. So that just knocks the astrology right out the box. This is what it says. Let me just pull this out. This is what it says in the Circle 7. He says the sun is not Allah. So he ain't trying to put emphasis on astrology. This is what it says in the Circle 7, right? It says, though his noblest image, he enlighteneth the world with his brightness, his warmth giveth life to the products of the earth. Admire him as the creature, the instrument of law, but worship him not. This is what it says. You see what I'm saying? Where, C.M.B. he just put the sun right on the cover of the Clock of Destiny. You know what I'm saying? And you dudes think. Then he got another book called The Circle of Life. So I don't understand how someone could think that what? Like Drew Ali and C.M.B. connected? They're not connected. Now a lot of C.M.B. people, they'll quote the prophet, which is a farce. You know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? However, like I just said, quoting people who passed on and stuff like that, now they can't really correct you on what they really were saying or whatever. So this is what this dude says. Drew Ali, the Circle 7 has under religion, the topic of religion. So, in the Clock of Destiny 2, it says in bold print, religion is for ignorant people who cannot read. I am an informer. The truth will enable the reader to reform himself. And then he goes into astrology. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So this thing is two different things. You know what I'm saying? It's two different things. And it's not based on certain things. There's wisdom in both of them, actually. And a lot of people, they're not applying the wisdom that either one of them said. Because, like I said, there's no growth in these organizations of people getting caught up, and stuff like that. But there's no growth in these organizations and stuff like that. There's just people getting caught up with just a whole bunch of stupidness. You know what I'm saying? Getting caught up on a lot of different stuff or whatever. But there was something in here that was very interesting that I thought I would share for people who do follow C.M.B.'s works. He said something in here that was very profound. Let me see if I can find it. But basically, what he was saying was that, and I think there's only one organization that follows what C.M.B. was saying, and that would be the Clock of Destiny. I will have to say that because he said some stuff in here that a lot of people don't attend to, and they would be better off if they did. Let me just see if I can find it. Let me just read through this right quick. Because I want to read it directly. I know the statement, but I just don't want to make blanket statements, so I want to read it, straight up directly or whatever. But I'll find it later. But basically, he was saying, like, look, you ain't supposed to be teaching this stuff in public. That's what it says. He says you're not supposed to be teaching this stuff in public. And you don't see that today. You see people doing debates and, all this other crazy stuff. And, that's not what the intention of either or organization was for. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't intended to be saying a whole bunch of stuff in public. You know what? I think I know where it's at. I think it's in... Yeah, it's in the Zodiac Constitution. And this is what he says. And this is why all these groups who claim to follow CMB, they're not even following him. You look at these debates, people on all this kind of stuff, they're not following him. Look what it says in the Moorish Zodiac Constitution. It says the Moors, the Beys and Ills must never attempt to teach or lecture in the Christian institutions, namely church, temple, mosque, school, and hall. This is a violation of the Union Society states. uh, let me see. My glasses are not clear. Right Magna Charta Code of Mary and Christ. The truth of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution and moral human principles definitely conflicts with the Christian Union custom of doctrine of the Magna Carta from every angle. So he's saying don't teach right here. Don't go around talking a whole bunch of stuff out of these books. You know what I mean? That that's not appropriate. But yet you see these people on YouTube all the time talking about stuff from these books and how to apply it, and that's not what it says. The only group I haven't seen doing that, I would say a little bit of some of the brothers in the Great Seal, and a little bit of some of the brothers, well, all the brothers in the Clock of Destiny. I don't really see them out. You might see Nakeem Bey out in the college giving some general instruction, but you don't really see these dudes caught up into all that debate and stuff like that. Okay, so that's that. Now, what is more effective? Is the M.S.T.A. more effective than the teachings of CMB? Well, hmm, it's interesting because CMB definitely does give some wisdom. I mean, as a shaman, he's talking about astrology and stuff, and we engage in that stuff. Like learning about I mean, not learning, just living it out or whatever. However, I would say that what Joe Noble Ali has founded with the Circle 7 is of utmost importance because it employs virtue. Anyone can learn about some of those sciences of the occult and masonry, but it doesn't dictate the virtue that they have. What I would say, like with masonry, the square and everything, you kind of cultivate the soul. However, a lot of people, because of what masonry has become today, they're using it just for social status and stuff. However, a lot of the principles in the Circle 7 are very beneficial. Here's the thing with all this stuff. There's a lot of misinformation, around the Moorish teachings and stuff. There's a lot of information. I'm going to expose some stuff because I'm not going to talk about the Moors too much after this. Not in that sense, in some of these videos, because I think it's enough for people to digest. And then later, after a while, I'll pick up and I'll talk about some other stuff. However, what I would say, let me just pull the screen up again. However, what I would say is that there is a great big misunderstanding. And you know what that misunderstanding is? That misunderstanding is about the Moroccan Treaty 1787 between America and the United States. The Moroccan Treaty has nothing to do with Moorish Americans. I'm going to say this 3 times. The Moroccan Treaty has nothing to do with members of the M.S.T.A. or people who follow the teachings of CMB. It has nothing to do with them. Nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? First, people like, hey, man, these dudes, they got a treaty, man, and all we got to do is claim our Moorish, self as Moors, and we can fall under it. No, you can't, because those were commercial treaties. And the Moroccan Treaty, it ain't even really that big of a thing too much, because here's the thing. When you look at Morocco, they were making treaties with everybody. First of all, those are commercial treaties. So if you think, America is a corporation and stuff, the Moroccan Treaty is a commercial treaty. It's a commercial treaty. And it's said in certain literature I'm going to read it, that Morocco made these commercial treaties. Just look at how soon they made a treaty. Okay, so they made this treaty with the states in the late 1700s. But then they made a treaty with Denmark in 1757. They made a treaty with England in 1760, with Venice in 1765, with Spain in 1767, and the Netherlands in 1777, and finally the United States 10 years later. So these dudes was making treaties every 10 years because they were having problems with, people's ships getting, jumped by pirates and stuff like that. And not only that, but Morocco was still like a center of learning and stuff. So here's the thing. Why am I saying that the Moroccan Treaty has no bearing on Moorish Americans who are part of the Sea and Bay movement, or who are part of the M.S.T.A? Because a lot of times you read books and they always go into this stuff like, hey man, these dudes, they were about to lock them up, and they found out they were Moors, and then they got out of jail, so Moors were given a different status than just a normal Negro. Okay, that's true. That is true. However, here's the thing. Um, what what was going on when these commercial treaties was made is that sometimes you had employees of the consulate or people who were working with the government in either country that the treaty was between. Okay, so what happened was that, like, yeah, Moors are, melanated people, so they can get confused with a Negro. He's like, yo, man, I'm working with, the government. You can't just, like, someone makes a treaty and you just make some paperwork on your own and say, hey, man, I'm part of the treaty. Come on, that's stupid. You can't do something like that. And actually, here's something a lot of people don't know. And I got this out. I'm going to read it for y'all. Um, that's something you're not going to learn in the M.S.T.A. or in CN material. It's taken from the book Foreign Relations of the United States, and it talks about the treaty that Morocco was making and some stuff that, if Moors knew it, they would change their whole MO. And that's what's going to happen because we're watching the video right now. It says, um, by the Article 5 of the same convention, the government of Morocco recognizes the right of ministers, charge d'affaires, and other representatives which granted to them by treaties to select the persons whom they employ. Okay, so now we can see that the protection given in these treaties concern employees of the government. Okay, in regard to the list of protected persons, the convention is equally precise as appears by Articles 7 and 8, which reads as follows. I'm going to go to 8. It says, consular officers shall transmit each year to the authorities of the district in which they reside a list bearing the seal of the persons protected by them. It's very simple. This dude, the Sultan of Morocco, had to provide the United States with a list of all the people protected by the treaty because it's a commercial treaty. It's about people working with government. You know what I'm saying? And the United States had to do the same thing. Now these dudes done read about this stuff and misinterpreted and created a whole other beast, man. You dudes, like, if you guys would have just stuck with the virtue, then it's like, okay, it's a little misunderstanding. Let's straighten out. But you guys are going around basing doctrine off a treaty that doesn't even apply to you. I have the names when the treaty was signed. I have the names of the people that it would protect it. And sometimes, if you was from Morocco, they're gonna look out, say like, hey man, you down, you know what I'm saying? But you have to validate that. Look at the validation process of when them dudes was doing stuff. You had other people who were coming in who identified themselves as Moors and they got different treatment. Yes, that's true. But as far as you going into court today and saying that you down with this and whatever, you protected by this treaty, I'm gonna tell you, here's a couple of options that may happen. First, the obvious option, sometimes people get off. People get off because a lot of judges and people in court, they just don't want to see more black people locked up. They don't want to see them behind bars. And then these people leaving like, yeah, they got to recognize this. Nah, man, it's not even like that. Second thing is just because a person is a judge in a civil court or commercial court doesn't mean that they know international law. So if you pose on something that deals with international law, the judge is at work. It's not like they're at justice, but they at work. So they may be like, yo, man, you know what? I want to get home because I got to take these kids out roller skating tonight. You know what, man? Y'all can go. And these dudes walking out the courtroom, oh, man, they got to recognize. They got to recognize. And it ain't even about that. You know what I'm saying? And then the third option is you can get locked up because everyone who's in a legal institution who understands international law is looking at you silly. You see what I'm saying? This has something to do with employees who are working in both parts of the country. And of course, some people, because of certain laws with the caste system, like the caste system in India, they they would like you have Moors in South Carolina that came out and made their claim. So things were known about the treaty. However, that's like caste system stuff. You see what I'm saying? But they would give the Constitution treaty, Moroccan treaty, a reference, but it wouldn't be like that covers you. You see what I'm saying? This is like in principle. Hey, we're Moors, like da da whatever. So they say these dudes is doing something prosperous because they came over here to work or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then if you don't believe me, look at all the other constitutions, the treaties that were made, the treaty that was made with Denmark, the treaty that was made with Spain. Look at the provision for Moors that it says in those countries. It still deals with commercialization. It's a commercial treaty. It deals with employees. And these people make it seem like, oh man, they gotta recognize they're talking about us because you went home, you went to Kinko's and made yourself some paperwork. It's stupid. It's stupid. You know what I'm saying? But, basically, what I would say, people are allowed to do what they want to do because there's wisdom. And, everybody's going to be attracted to things as they are. Let me see what time it is, how they want to do things or whatever. So some people do find wisdom as this, but, at this point in time, because none of these organizations are unified, it's like you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. However, the structures are intact. I would say that what needs to happen is that you have to look at, like unity, and I don't mean unity like everyone getting along unity, but just being able to sit down and say, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" Being like, "Hey, let's try to work on some things together." You know what I mean? That's your first priority at this point. It's not. The first priority is no longer nationality is the order of the day. The first priority now is getting this thing straightened out. You know what I'm saying? And if these sheiks or these master masons or whatever refuse to do so, then they're fools. They're fools. They can put aside something because you're dealing with a long history. M.S.T.A. it's been around more than 100 years, but its legal existence is over 100 years as well. It's over 100 years. And y'all can't sit up and say like, hey, let's plan for the next century, how we want things to go. If you don't plan it, then see the thing. This is what happens with this stuff. A lot of these dudes, they pick up the mantle because they know how to quote information. That's all they do. They know how to quote information. They're not really living it out. They just know how to quote information, and they're older, so they learn some lessons in life that most older people know. However, you got to sit and think. If you are following the same structure and don't implement anything to advance that structure, what's going to happen? So this is where these dudes are unified at. People in the M.S.T.A. and the followers of CM are both unified in the fact that they're not trying to advance their structures. Some of the dudes be like, let's update the material. Like, when they question these dudes on YouTube. I mean, that's not what it is. However, yeah, some things do need to be accommodated because the environment is different than it was in 1913 or 1947. You know what I'm saying? And all because these dudes are making a racket, they're making a fan club money-based racket out of it, and ain't even that much money because some people looking at y'all like y'all stupid. How can a corporation like J.P. Morgan, the employees get along in that corporation, and you guys are claiming all this stuff, and y'all can't be in the same room and you got the same nationality. It doesn't make any sense. Your priority is no longer nationality. It's about your unification. You don't get it. Kids are being kidnapped. Chicago's off the hook, and y'all sitting around talking about something like a constitution and a misinterpretation of the Moroccan Treaty. It's sad. You know what I'm saying? But there's going to be a part two to this. So we're going to listen up. But there are people out there who are trying to do the best that they can. You know what I'm saying? Trying to, I think Moors in America, there's a lot of, Sharif Bey, there's a lot of people, even Tahaka, if he gets his act together and clean up his show, you know what I'm saying? It could be something great. But, as long as he keep messing around with them Sarnetta dudes and stuff, and it's nothing wrong with Sarnetta, it's just they have a different agenda. You got a whole world out there. You could be talking about history. You could be taking black and white film clips. You could be interviewing Senegalese Moors, people who call themselves Moors in Senegal. And you sitting here talking to some dudes on 125th Street about stuff that doesn't really even matter. You know what I'm saying? Y'all could be hosting conventions. There's a whole bunch of stuff y'all could be doing. But, one dude say he reincarnated. He don't get along with this dude. Man, this is garbage. It's just a bunch of stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of stuff that needs to be straightened out. And y'all look shabbier than a lot of stuff that's going on. Y'all can't get it together. You see what I'm saying? Y'all can't get it together. You know why Christians do well? Because Christians focus on them same five principles. They focus on love. They may not have the right knowledge or whatever, but as long as love prevails, their God is there. He's showing up in the world. But you guys, y'all don't have it together. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't have it together. Then you want people to join your organization. What can you offer them? You can't even get along. You gotta. How you gonna get someone to join your organization? Then he sees someone have the same nationality as Fez. Oh, he can't talk to that person. He's in this group. Like, what is this? You see what I'm saying? Get it together, guys. Get it together. Like I said, my name is M.S.T.A. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna go with something that's decrepit. You know what I'm saying? That's not progressive because of whatever it is. So you dudes in the hot seat, man, I'm gonna stick it to y'all because I'm gonna create something, but I'm gonna stick it to y'all in a little, first because if you lead in these groups, you should be held accountable. Why? It's just like you can't get together, call someone, talk to someone like, nah, man, these dudes, they just need straightening out or whatever. Then you got people in the M.S.T.A. They got some of them got their noses in the air. These dudes out here, these youth, they don't know. You know what I'm saying? They just drawn to the first and easiest thing that they can get into with a fast. You see what I'm saying? And y'all looking down upon them, and you could be recruiting them. You see what I'm saying? Take time with them. Hey man, I see you doing this. Hey, why don't you come join us? I'm telling you, half of these dudes studying and seeing Bay want to be in the temple, but they can't be in the temple because they have certain situations that you're not willing to sit down and help them with. But your motto is uplifting fallen humanity. So, it is what it is at this point. You know what I'm saying? But these are the questions, these are the answers. So let's see what y'all can do with it. You know what I'm saying? But there are a lot of people who are trying to do the right thing, but it's just not enough. You see what I'm saying? Because the leadership is corrupt. And that's where we stand at this point. This is me, Sile Bay, aka Warlock Asylum, signing off. Have a good night and catch you a little bit later. Stay blessed.